Growing up, Vân Le remembers that her father would work on his intricate oil paintings in the evening after he came home from his job as a janitor.
And I'd go to the garage where he was painting. He had his coat on because it's winter, has a light on, and he had to be in the garage because it was the only space big enough to hold his paintings. And I'd be like, Dad, it's time to eat. And Mom's done cooking, and he's like, oh, I'll be there in a moment. And he had this big magnifying glass and this tiny, tiny paintbrush, and he was applying like one dot, one brush stroke at a time.
She says if she has to pick a favorite painting of his, it's probably the largest one.
Because I grew up with it. I remember when half of it was white and he didn't finish it yet. And I remember as a little girl constantly asking him, like, are you done yet? Is it done now? It's done, like there's no more white spaces. Like, is it done now? And he's like, no. And he just kept adding more and more layers to it.
When it was finally finished, she asked him what the painting was about.
He's like, this is the country of Vietnam. And what it depicts is a dragon and a phoenix. He said these are two halves. Everything has to be a balance. The dragon is the shape of an S, which is like the shape of the country. And it also speaks to three regions of Vietnam. So understanding the north, the central, and the south. This is important because my dad came from the middle region of Vietnam.
From the Gert Boyle studio, I'm Jen Chavez, and this is The Evergreen, a podcast from OPB about the place you call home. This month marks 50 years since the fall of Saigon and the end of the Vietnam War. It's also the anniversary of many Vietnamese families arriving to start a new life in the Pacific Northwest. Thousands of people fled Vietnam and became refugees in 1975. And many of those people ended up on the west coast of the United States. According to census data, there are now more than 37,000 Vietnamese Oregonians.
I am a first-generation Vietnamese-American. My parents came here to Portland in 1975.
And to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the end of the war and her family's arrival in the U.S., Vân Le and her uncle Alan Long have organized a 3-part series of exhibits to share her father's artwork.
We want to look at the past, the present, and the future across 3 cities, Lake Oswego, downtown Portland, and downtown Tigard. So we're going to start off in Lake Oswego at the Oswego Heritage House Museum, and we're going to debut some works that my dad painted from 1975 to about 1980. So these are the first few paintings that he produced when he first arrived into America. The paintings are not the most cheerful subjects, and that's because this was his mode of communication. He came in his late 30s, so it was really hard for him to pick up the language, and he felt like the only way I can communicate is through these paintings.
Vân's father died in 2014 when she was a senior in college, and the paintings sat in her mother's house for many years after that. Now, many of them are on display in the art gallery that Vân and her uncle co-own in Tigard, called the Jeffrey Allen Gallery. Vân says that her father's signature often shows Vinh as his first name, but in Vietnamese, his name was
Le Quang Vinh, L-E, Quang, Q-U-A-N-G, Vinh, V-I-N-H. In Vietnamese, we always start with their last name and go forward.
Vân's uncle, Alan, explained the importance of that.
In Vietnamese culture, the last name is super important because it represents not just where you came from, but who you are today is because of who came before you. It tells a story about your whole entire family because that's who you're connected to.
Alan remembers coming to Oregon from Vietnam with his large family when he was a child.
We came here in 1975. We left Saigon April 30th. My family is made up of 13 kids plus parents, so there's 15 of us all together. We were sponsored by the Lutheran Church in Portland, Oregon, where we came to Oregon, and not knowing where we were going, we did the typical immigrant story of trying to blend in, trying to fit into society, trying to make a living and acclimating to this culture.
Alan gravitated towards horticulture for his career, and at Jeffrey Allen Gallery, he not only sells art, but plants as well.
For me, growing up in a tropical country, we were surrounded by plants. And coming to America, this is something that I found that brought my family, like particularly my dad, and then for me, it was something that brought comfort to us because it felt homey, it felt real. We were living here. We're not just temporary, we're living here.
Alan's family was fortunate to have the support of the Lutheran Church. Many refugees who left Vietnam at that time came without knowing exactly where they would end up. Thuy Huynh took a much more circuitous route to Oregon.
Back then, it's very hard to escape. People cannot escape unless you were either Chinese, pretending to be Chinese because Vietnamese communists were trying to push all the Chinese people out. So we had to make false identification IDs and stuff. So my mom cut my hair, my sister's hair, and we pretended to be Chinese people. And then my mom trained us or taught us a few phrases to say in Chinese just in case we were caught.
Thuy left when she was 5 years old with her mother, father, and siblings, as well as aunts, uncles, and cousins. There were 13 people in all. They piled onto a small fishing boat with about 300 other people.
Yeah, I just remember everybody was on top of each other, squishing, and we couldn't move for days. Everybody was, throwing up, and it was just horrific.
About 4 days into the journey, Thuy says the boat struck something in the water and began to sink.
And my grandmother was wealthy, so she literally gave each of us a life vest to escape. And that whole trip, we were the only ones with life vests.
Thuy's family made the heart-wrenching decision to jump off the boat and hope to be rescued. Out of the 313 people on board, Thuy says they were the only survivors.
So we took the risk, we jumped off, and then a few hours later, another boat came and took us in. At the time, I thought they were really nice people because, they picked us up, they rescued us. But then later on, within a few hours later, I found out that they weren't as nice as, they were pirates, Thai pirates.
She says her family was able to escape the pirates unharmed.
My mom was really smart. She hid a whole bunch of jewelry in her body and in her hair. And so she was able to exchange that for our lives. They took everything from us.
The family landed in a refugee camp in Indonesia, where they stayed for 9 months. Then they were moved to a second refugee camp, and from there, they finally made their way to the United States.
So I got to the United States because my aunt married her husband, and her husband's father was living in Texas, and he was the one who sponsored us to the United States. So he did all the paperwork.
Even though they had been wealthy in Vietnam, Thuy says her family was very poor when she was growing up in Texas.
I remember going from one apartment to the next, and it was 13 people into a one-bedroom apartment, and it was really pretty bad. My mom would just buy a sandwich, like a hamburger, and she would split into so many pieces for us.
Eventually, her parents got jobs with an insurance company. Thuy remembers traveling with them when she was a child.
So we would go to all these conferences. I went to so many different states because I would travel with my parents all the time. But I just love Oregon. I was like, out of all the states, I want to live in Oregon. So I was very determined to move to Oregon.
As an adult, she traveled to Oregon on vacation and met the man she would later marry. She also got involved with Vietnamese community organizing, and she became a U.S. citizen.
I'm really proud to be a U.S. citizen. I do think about Vietnam pretty often, though. I just feel so fortunate, and I'm so happy that my parents decided to escape the country.
Even though she was a small child when she left Vietnam, she never forgot the language.
Thuy tên là Huyền Tôn Nữ Phương Thuy. Thuy muốn xin kính chào quý vị và Thuy mong mỗi người ở Việt Nam, ở bên Việt Nam với lại ở bên Mỹ có một cuộc sống thật là vui vẻ. I just introduced myself and I just said, I love my Vietnamese people and I hope that everybody would have a wonderful, happy life.
Vân Lê says her father also held on to his Vietnamese roots.
He taught me Vietnamese, he taught me how to read, taught me how to write it. And while he was painting these pieces, I felt so strongly like, I don't want you to forget what being Vietnamese means. I want to tell you what those mean, and I want to paint it for you.
Vun's uncle and business partner, Alan Long, says that even though his family was focused on assimilating into mainstream American society, he's glad that his parents encouraged him and his siblings to continue to speak Vietnamese and learn about their history.
And I think being, generationally older than my niece, for us, it was very easy to put our head down and work, because that's what we had to do to survive. But I was very fortunate that I had a very supportive family who always continue to encourage us to speak Vietnamese and encourage us to learn more about our history. We came here with nothing. We came here with only the name that we own. And then from there, we took those dreams and made it into something that is ours.
Coming up after a break, we'll hear about the ways Vân and Alan are using art to celebrate the present and look towards the future. Thanks for listening to The Evergreen, our podcast from OPB about the place you call home. If you like what you hear, subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, and we'll brighten your Monday morning a little bit with something new and exciting to listen to each week. You can also follow OPB on Instagram at OPB Photo, or follow me directly at Jen Chavez OPB. That's Jen with 2 N's. And I'll keep you posted on what Team Evergreen is up to. And remember, this episode about Vietnamese Oregonians and all the great OPB reporting and storytelling you hear on this show is made possible by the support of many thousands of OPB members. Support our journalism by becoming an OPB sustaining member today at opb.org/pod. And now, back to the show. Vân Lê and Alan Long created a nonprofit last year called the Vietnamese Cultural Arts Alliance, and it's through that organization that they're coordinating the series of events to honor the accomplishments of Oregon's Vietnamese community and highlight the artwork created by Lê's father, Lê Quang Vinh.
We have been in Oregon for 1/3 of Oregon's history. Oregon is only 160-something years old this year, and Vietnamese people have been here for 50 years. So 1/3 of Oregon's history, Vietnamese people have been here.
The second event in this series will take place at the Oregon Historical Society in downtown Portland. It'll focus on 3 Vietnamese-Americans. The event will feature eyewear designer Paul Vu, whose family immigrated from Vietnam in 1975, and Dr. Thuy Tran. She is a Vietnamese immigrant who served as a lieutenant colonel in the Oregon Air National Guard, owns her own optometry business, and is currently in her 2nd term as a state representative.
But her dream is to be an actress. And she's going to have a one-woman show, which for me, that is so special because it shows the diversity of the Vietnamese people.
Lê Quang Vinh will be the 3rd featured artist in the event.
Even though he's passed away, we have recordings of him. We have him singing. We have him talk about his painting.
OPB arts and culture producer Stephen Tonthat got to see some of Lê Quang Vinh's artwork that'll be on display at these Vietnamese Cultural Arts Alliance events.
The paintings are massive. They're not like these very small, like 8 by 10 inch paintings or whatever. They're huge, and they are these oil paintings of these ancient Vietnamese folklore. And so there's a lot of color, there's a lot of really just kind of vibrancy to them that I was like, whoa, I've never seen that before in Vietnamese art, really.
Stephen's parents also came to the U.S. from Vietnam after the war. He said it was really meaningful for him to report on work by a Vietnamese-American artist.
A lot of these paintings were about Vietnamese folklore. and Vietnamese legends that I had heard about, but I had never really dove into too much. And so it kind of just gave me this really nice feeling of connectedness to my community, but also to like my own culture, my own heritage as well.
He says that while it makes sense to mark the 50th anniversary of the end of the war, he sees that as more of a jumping off point.
It's clearly a dark part in our history, but what I found really interesting about it too is that so many Vietnamese Americans came to the U.S. for a better life. Like my folks did that. So did Vun's family and, Alan as well. And so for me, I think it's important to acknowledge that painful part of the history, but I think we can also look to the future and say, look, we're here now and we are contributing.
Stephen is excited about celebrating the way the Vietnamese American community has grown here since 1975.
The Vietnamese community here is very close-knit. And I think what I really enjoy about it is that we lift each other up, right? And so like when someone says, hey, I'm going to be showcasing my artwork, a lot of people will come and check it out. And I think what I really appreciate about the Vietnamese community out here is that we are very unapologetic about being Vietnamese. Like we love sharing our culture. And you can see that through the paintings.
Thuy Huynh says she's proud of Oregon's Vietnamese-American community.
It's not as big like California or Seattle, but it's pretty big. Of course, we have so many events throughout the whole year, I can't even count anymore. We have Black April, which is the day that we lost our country to the communists, which is April 30th. It's a very, very big event for us. Living in the United States, we have our Vietnamese holidays and we have our American holidays, so we have so many events.
The third exhibition in the series Vun Le and Alan Long are organizing will be at their gallery in Tigard, the Jeffrey Allen Gallery. Alan says that the idea behind this event is to focus on the future of the Vietnamese American community.
We hold a special temple that is indigenous to Vietnam. And this is the roots of Vietnam. And so we would like to have the exhibit here because it shows not only roots, but it shows the current art that we have. And then we will also feature young new artists that are Vietnamese as well.
This temple that we have here is a space to connect the future and the past. It is here because of the past, but it is survived because of the future.
According to Vun Le, the paintings of her fathers that the gallery will feature in this exhibit are also about looking towards the future.
He visited Vietnam in 1995 as a tourist for the first time, coming back to his country after leaving in 75, and his entire perspective had changed. The paintings that came out of that era, now we're talking about the culture of Vietnam. Not just the war, but now we're talking about what is Vietnamese culture? What does that mean? What are the symbols and the memories and the stories that are inherent to Vietnamese people? Because now he wanted to paint to kind of share with the future with me. So I am literally my father's future. And so I'm hoping to be able to showcase a lot of his works, art installation, and the temple. And this is a way to kind of tie back the loop. So this is a way to connect the future and the past.
Stephen Ton That definitely felt that connection.
I would hope that when people look at these exhibits, they would get a sense of pride in their community and a sense of pride in who they are. I feel a sense of pride whenever I look at those paintings, and I want to learn more as a Vietnamese person, so I would hope other people would do that too.
You can read Stephen Ton That's article about the events coordinated by Vun Le and Alan Long at opb.org. That's also where you'll find the OPB documentary, The Vietnam War Oregon Remembers, featuring interviews with Thuy Huynh and other Vietnamese Americans. Thank you for listening to The Evergreen, a podcast from OPB. Julie Sabatier produced this episode, and our technical director is Stephen Cray. The OPB podcast team also includes Mia Estrada and Sage Van Wing. Stephen Ton That, Nadine Gelsing, and Julie Sabatier did the interviews you heard. The music in this episode is from Audio Network. If you have a question for us, please reach out. Email us at theevergreen@opb.org. I'm Jen Chavez. Catch you later.